Welcome back, everybody. It's your neighborhood-friendly Mad Nerds podcast with Mike and Dave. As always, I am, of course, your host, David Superhero Deuce. With Mike is the Hat.
Yes, Mike D. in the place to be. All over. Mike is the Hat all over the place on the internets, the interwebs, seeing as the interwebs kind of ties in to what we're going to talk about.
Oh, if you couldn't tell already, everybody, Spider-Man's back home. Episode 17 coming home. It's commemorative of Mr. Spider-Man. Peter Parker is back at Marvel after weeks and months of speculation, of leaked emails, of leaked everything. Spider-Man can finally be part of the Avengers movies, part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And Mike, what was your reaction, man, when you heard this?
Well, you told me when we were, it was in the middle of us playing Destiny or something. I got like a text from you. And I was like, oh, wait a second, I don't know, we'll see what happens. And then, like, 20 minutes later, you jumped into the PlayStation party. We're like, it happened, it's actually real, none of that is BS, this is really happening. And, so I like, you were excited, I kind of contained my excitement, because I was focused on trying to kill Crota and what have you, but it is a very, very, very exciting time. Like, now we can get Spider-Man movies that are like actually worthy of watching, and hopefully we can erase the bad memories of Topher Grace, aka Red Foreman as Venom, and all of that nonsense that was Spider-Man 3 and going forward.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more.
Things need to be erased like that. They have to get the thing from Men in Black and like erase my memories of that so that we can actually get like legitimate Spider-Man things.
Well, yeah, the good news, Mike, is that it's not going to take long for that to happen because, per the official press release from Marvel, we've learned that the first Spider-Man solo film under the guidance of Kevin Feige as the producer, along with Amy Pascal, who we're going to talk about her in a little bit, they are the producers. They are spearheading this cooperative project. Apparently they were the two lead people negotiating, which would make a lot of sense. And I think Kevin Feige went into this knowing that Disney's behind him. Bob Iger could not be more happy because Spider-Man's probably going to be at Disneyland here not too much longer. Of course, Bob Iger is the CEO of Disney, the chairman and CEO.
The big money truck just backing up.
The dump truck of Marvel Disney money about to dump onto Sony.
Oh man, and there's just going to be all of the money. I just imagine the people at like Marvel Disney Pictures, just like Scrooge McDuck in the DuckTales cartoon, where he's just like swimming in a vault of just money, because that's what's going to happen.
Yes, and since we're talking about Disney, that could not be a more fitting analogy. But, that first movie's coming July 28th of 2017. Now, of course, some of you may be saying, well, that's the Thor Ragnarok date, right? Well, it is. It used to be. And we're going to get into all that news here as soon as we kind of come down off of this mountain of, this Spider-Man talk. But, Mike, the biggest news here that I got out of this press release was that the new Spider-Man, they were very clear about that. So Andrew Garfield out. The Amazing Spider-Man out. It's no more. It's a new Spider-Man. Will first appear in a Marvel film from Marvel's Cinematic Universe. And then they will release this Spider-Man solo film. So, I mean, if you look at this, Mike, there's only, the Avengers Age of Ultron is like 3 months away, a little bit less at this point. So he's obviously not going to be in that because they haven't even cast anybody. Unless they really surprise us. I highly doubt that. He's probably not going to be in Ant-Man because Ant-Man's taking place in San Francisco. So that's out of there. Your next two films are Captain America Civil War and Doctor Strange. And then it's then it's Guardians of the Galaxy, which of course he would not fit in at all. And then the Spider-Man solo film. So, Mike, out of all of these, I wonder which one has Spider-Man at the center of its comic book storyline. Oh, wait, it's Civil War.
Yeah. Praise the comic gods or whatever it is that you pray to that this is actually happening and we're not going to get like Black Panther would have been cool in the Spider-Man role. Like I wouldn't have been against it, but
and he still might be in it. Like obviously you can't just screw over Chadwick Boseman. Like he's been in on this since the beginning. But I'm betting they have both now. It's like, oh wait, so we can have our cake and eat it too? Awesome.
Well, if they run it the way that it was in the the comic book storyline, there we go. You have Black Panther doing his thing with the Illuminati, where he's like, look, I'm I'm out. I'm out of this. Just keep me out. I'm gonna be over here in my thing, doing my thing. Me and Storm are gonna get married. We're gonna chill out. Obviously, that won't be in there, but
Yeah.
that's a whole other issue. Now we got Spider-Man. Now we're gonna start slowly reeling all the rest of these Marvel things in.
Yeah, at some point maybe.
But like he's just gonna be off in Africa doing his thing, man. And now Spider-Man could be the focal point of the Peter Parker kind of like that's the thing too, is like what Spider-Man character are they going to use? Hopefully for that it's Peter Parker. Yeah, it doesn't make sense with anybody else.
The press release was very helpful with all this because it did say, especially I believe it was from the chairman and CEO of Sony Pictures Entertainment, Michael Linton. He said, this is the right direction for the franchise. This is a new level of collaboration, and it is the perfect way to take Peter Parker's story into the future. So that just tells you right there, okay, Peter Parker. We're not getting Miles Morales, even though he was trending on Twitter, which was very interesting. It tells you that people are already ready for a new Spider-Man. But I'm guessing that this is going to be a different angle on Spider-Man than what we've ever seen. Because, Sony, although they've done 5 Spider-Man movies, we have seen the same Peter Parker in pretty much every movie. He graduates high school, he's in college, he's kind of in the working world a little bit. We have not gotten to see this torn up Peter Parker who's still in high school with a couple years of high school left with all of his friends and his close colleagues. This is the Spider-Man that I expect to see. And this is the thing, Mike, you talked about Civil War. Even if they decide to keep Black Panther at the middle, or if they kind of have it as a joint thing, because Black Panther obviously has the vibranium, and he's going to need to be at least a key member of the story, even if he's not the Spider-Man role, if you will. But think about this. If you're in New York and there's this Spider-Man flying around, nobody knows who he is. Like, he can continue to be the center of this debate of, hey, what's this kid flying around New York for? Like, and then of course you'll see Spider-Man going to high school and it's like, he's just a kid. Like, that could add a whole other layer to this story. Obviously you don't want to take too much focus off of Captain America and the Winter Soldier that's going to be in it again. So just so much can happen in this. I really hope that they focus on kid Peter Parker.
Well, if they're going to go with the Civil War thing, it should be more adult Peter Parker, in my opinion. Somewhere where he's gotten, was it Mary Jane, to marry him or whatever, and him and Mary and his aunt are chilling, hanging out in New York with the Avengers, trying to kind of figure out what's going on after the events of, the school explosion in Hartford. And,
right. Yeah.
I think that would be a great way to go. But if they wanted to do, the young, like if they reboot.
Yeah, I'm guessing this is a reboot. Like this has to be.
100% would not be against it, because now the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies, the first 2, were okay. The first one was actually really good. I remember going to see it at midnight, and I didn't even complain that I had to sit 3 rows off of the screen and watch it like that, with a broken neck pretty much for the rest of the night. but I was excited. Ooh, Spider-Man! Ooh, I was pumped, and then it was good, and then
Spider-Man 2 is one of the most critically acclaimed movies of all time in the superhero genre. So those 2 were excellent.
And then the third one came, and I cried. But
we all did. We all need to forget that horrible mess.
But I mean, if they did the reboot and it followed kind of that younger Spider-Man, where he's just kind of figuring out what's going on. Obviously, they did that with the Amazing Spider-Man 2, that was what it's called, Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah, the Amazing Spider-Man.
With our boy from the Social Network, but I wouldn't see it after the third one. Now that it's back with Marvel and there's going to be more of an affiliation, I think I would definitely jump back into that, regardless of if it's Peter Parker, like you said, the press release said it's probably going to be Peter Parker. That's great. If it's Miles Morales, that's cool too. But I just want to see a legitimate, good Spider-Man film.
I agree. I think that's what we're all just happy about here, is it's in good hands. Marvel has yet to screw anything up. Whoever they cast, it's going to be perfect, because everybody else has been. There can't be a single character who I've said, oh, that was just terrible casting. Even the people who they've ended up recasting, like Terrence Howard, and, drawing a blank on who played the Incredible Hulk. I don't know why. I can see his face.
You had Edward Norton.
Edward Norton, Edward Norton. He got recast but even them, they did they did really good in their roles. Like, had they stayed in it, it'd have been fine. Obviously, I really love Don Cheadle and Mark Ruffalo, but had it stayed as Terrence Howard and Edward Norton, I'd have been okay with that too. That had more to do with their off-screen stuff than it did with their actual roles. And so, you know, you got to think about it this way too. I think that this is a great way to just kind of get out of the origin story. Like, we're not going to see Spider-Man's origin in Civil War. It's not about him. He's going to be a peripheral character, just like Black Panther is, you know. This is obviously Captain America's movie. So automatically, like, we all know his origin. We don't need to see him get bit by the spider, like maybe in a montage of sorts. Like, sure, it'd be important to see, okay, for all those of you who don't know yet, here's like a 1 minute little splurge of stuff. Yeah, he got bit by a spider. Uncle Ben died. Okay, this is where he is today.
Well, I mean, you could do it like they've done with Gotham, where like the first scene, that's just how it starts. There's no like, oh, this is Peter. Like, it's just he's wherever it is that he gets bit by the spider, and then that's it, and it goes from there.
Yep, like Uncle Ben is shot. Okay, and this is where we're at.
Yeah, exactly. We have like kind of like how Gordon was investigating for the first few episodes of Gotham, and it's bam, there we go. Okay, look, Peter Parker's bitten by a spider. He's like noticing all this crazy weird stuff's happening to him. Uncle Ben dies. Now he's Spider-Man. All right, then let's go. That's like 25 minutes, and then boom.
Yeah, I mean, and they did that in The Amazing Spider-Man, and everybody was like, we just saw this like 8 years ago. We don't need this again. The Incredible Hulk, what was so awesome about that is they completely did his origin in 3 minutes. They showed it, okay, he's working on gamma radiation, S.H.I.E.L.D. is involved, trying to reboot the Super Soldier program, through just a montage of shots. And then you just, okay, he's the Hulk and he's on the run and the government's after him, let's go. I can see them doing the same thing with this and just getting started. And you gotta think too, you can't cast too old of a Spider-Man because Spider-Man is going to be in the Avengers movies in the future, particularly Infinity War, Part 1 and Part 2. And I'm guessing he's gonna carry the load after, you know, these other guys like Tony Stark, you know, of course Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans are out of the picture. Spider-Man's going to be their main guy in the next set of Avengers movies after Infinity War. So young makes sense, but I'm with you. I could totally see them casting older, and I wouldn't be against it. It's just it would be a little bit more difficult to say, oh, well, where did this guy come from? Like, your universe, like, for them to explain it off, it would be more difficult to cast older. But either way, I'm cool with it. So, the big thing here, you know, we're obviously our dream has come true. We get a true Civil War story. Spider-Man is back home. A ton of stuff is happening. But Mike, I want to talk about, okay, we know that he's getting introduced in Civil War, like, officially. But what do you think about the potential that they could start dropping hints of Spider-Man, such as, oh, I don't know, somebody on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. holding the Daily Bugle or something? I mean, when do you think we're going to see the first signs of Spider-Man in the MCU?
Well, I don't know if we'd get it too soon in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Obviously, they've filmed all the episodes for this season. But that's not to say that they can't go back and do a quick reshoot and edit it in somewhere.
Right, yeah.
But that would be cool. I'd love to see that, but to speculate, I would say, hey, when's the next Marvel movie coming out? We have this year.
Age of Ultron and then Ant-Man. So those are Age of Ultron's in May. Ant-Man is in July. But the other thing too is we also have the Netflix series. You know, Daredevil, of course, is already done, so it's not going to be Daredevil. But AKA Jessica Jones comes out on Netflix later this year, and that takes place in New York.
No, well, so does Daredevil, but it would be more like Jessica Jones. That one would fit a little bit more.
Yeah, with the timeline, you know, you'd have time to throw some things in there.
Yeah, that could actually work. I mean, maybe they knew this was coming when they filmed some stuff for Daredevil, that they were like, all right, we'll edit this out unless we have to put it back in at the end. You know, but because there is parts in you know the Marvel Comics universe where Daredevil and Spider-Man and team up because you know they have a common enemy in the Kingpin.
Yes, yes, I want to talk about that. Spider-Man and the Kingpin. This is the thing. A lot of people are focusing on, you know, the big picture, like, oh, well, what's Marvel going to do for villains and stuff? We'll talk about that in the months to come. I'm looking at this right now, and I see a perfect opportunity. If they cast some young actor who's not too huge of a movie star already, you could throw him into the Netflix series and have him going up against the Kingpin. you could have him going up against the Kingpin and crime people in his own movie. And I actually think that Spider-Man is best suited fighting crime on the streets of New York. Like, that to me, that's the Spider-Man that I haven't seen enough of. Like in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, kid's getting bullied. He walks him home. That's the Spider-Man that I want to see.
Oh, I would be full on ready for that. Much like the old cartoon that used to be on Fox. You had Spider-Man swinging around the drawn up Manhattan, using the spider sense, just kind of hanging out in New York when he had to. Or very much like the Tobey Maguire movie, you had him walking around in New York. He did the wrestling thing where we got to see Macho Man, Randy Savage, for all my wrestling fans out there that remember the Bone Saw.
Yeah. My gosh. Oh, that was fantastic.
But that's Peter Parker, that's Spider-Man. It has to be in New York. So if they did do something with Daredevil and snuck him in Hell's Kitchen, even though he doesn't really go there that often, he's more of like a Manhattan superhero, which would tie in more with Jessica Jones and even the Luke Cage stuff.
Absolutely. And, Mike, we've mentioned that there's a little bit of crossover here. The thing that's interesting is, of course, we'll just get the news portion of this out of the way, and we'll get to more opinions here in a second. So, for those of you who don't know, this is a collaborative deal. So Sony still owns the rights to the character. That hasn't changed. They still own all financial stuff. They get final creative say on the films. Avi Arad has been ousted. Matt Tolmach has been ousted. They are executive producers, which basically means take this money and go hide, because we don't need your opinions anymore. You had your chance.
The hush money, they call that.
Yeah, it's the hush money. It's, okay,
go
listen.
Keep over there and shut up.
Keep what little dignity you have left. Because Avi Arad was the idiot who said, Spider-Man doesn't need to, he doesn't need to be in a movie with any other people. He's big enough on his own. He has several stories on his own to tell. Well, that's great, and you didn't tell him to us. You pissed half the world off about your character, dude. And it's so funny because he said if Spider-Man is ever in a movie with other people, he needs to be the central character. Well, in Civil War, he will be, but that's neither here nor there. It's just, this guy, it was so delusional about how big Spider-Man actually was. It's like, dude, you can't just throw the guy out there and expect us to like it. You have to show us something. And neither of them did.
At what point does any comic book character not team up with another character? So that guy, obviously, this goes back to the Tim Burton thing, to when he made the Batman in 1989, and I was watching a Kevin Smith thing called An Evening with Kevin Smith, and he said, Kevin Smith criticized something about Tim Burton, and Tim Burton was like, well, I'd never read anything Kevin Smith ever wrote. I think it was when he was writing for Green Arrow or Swamp Thing or something. And he goes, I'd never read a comic book. That's Tim Burton's words. And then Kevin Smith kind of looked at the camera and said, well, after watching Batman in 1989, I kind of figured that. So this is another guy where he's doesn't really know the medium where these characters came from. So it kind of hurts the character as a whole when they try and make a movie about it. Exactly.
And the thing, too, is Avi Arad was such a Spider-Man fanboy. I mean, he was involved in the original Spider-Man movies. He was involved in the Spider-Man cartoon. The guy knows the source material, but he has no idea how to convey it to the audience. And that's where Marvel has excelled, is here's the source material, here's what's going to entertain people, that we could still be as accurate as possible. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Look at he worked on the Spider-Man cartoon, but in the Spider-Man cartoon, he teamed up with people.
Exactly. The guy is senile.
The Punisher.
You don't even remember what you wrote.
The Punisher was there. There's the episodes with Venom, when Venom kind of stopped being evil-ish. The Carnage. There's all this stuff where the Spider-Man had to meet up with other Marvel heroes.
Yeah,
and take care of business.
And the big thing here too, Mike, is the next little piece of the news article there was that they're exploring opportunities to integrate characters from the MCU into Spider-Man films. So what I'm thinking here is this is where you might see people like the Punisher, although he's a little hardcore for Spider-Man. You could see someone like Daredevil. You already mentioned him. That would be a perfect way to get Daredevil into the movies without introducing him into the Avengers. Hey, there's this kingpin of crime that Spider-Man's trying to track down. Gee, I heard that there was this guy in Hell's Kitchen, goes around at night beating people with billy clubs. Maybe I can find him and team up with him. You can get Luke Cage and Iron Fist in there, just like they're doing on the Disney cartoon right now, where they've had them kind of younger versions of them around. I don't like the cartoon; it's kind of crap, but in my opinion.
Well,
but I look at stuff like that, and the other crossover potential now is in there, and you can make such better movies because you have the potential to throw in characters like a Daredevil or other street level guys.
well, and you have Civil War. I feel like we're beating the dead horse with Civil War, but you get all of these people involved. Daredevil's there with Captain America. Luke Cage is there. Jessica Jones is there. Spider-Man, Spider-Woman, if I'm not mistaken.
Right, who's yet to be introduced in any medium, but we'll see.
There's all the characters that are the street level heroes, as you called them, and I think that's what a lot of people call them anyway, but I always hear you say it. But all those people are in there, you know what I mean? Like, Punisher is involved, I believe. There's, of course, the X-Men and all that stuff is kind of there.
Moon Knight, aka Mark Spector. You get a ton of great heroes involved there. So the last little bit here, Mike, that I want to talk about is as far as Spider-Man goes and integrating stuff. We've already touched on it a little bit, but I want to just get your opinion on how do you see the other characters in Spider-Man's world, I guess, integrating in. Like, obviously, J. Jonah Jameson's coming back. Like, the dude is pure gold. Give me J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson again, and I'm happy. But let's think about Oscorp. Think about the things that Oscorp adds to this. You could get the Dark Avengers with this now because you already own the rights. Venom is Dark Spider-Man. You have Bullseye as Dark Hawkeye. You have Moonstone as Dark Miss Marvel. Of course, Osborn himself can put on the Iron Patriot armor like in the comics. This just opened up a whole amazing thing with Oscorp, Black Cat, Venom, Carnage, just all the potential is awesome.
Yeah, there's an infinite number of possibilities they could go with anything. As far as Spider-Man and his villains, hopefully we get a much better version of Electro. I'm not saying that Jamie Foxx did a bad job, but
a Green Goblin that looks like Green Goblin.
Green Goblin, Shocker, maybe. Like, I just look at all the people that were in the cartoon.
Mysterio, for goodness sakes, would be a perfect event. He could be an Avengers villain. I mean, he's got so much ability.
You could get Kraven the Hunter in. You could get there's so many people that you can get. Like,
The Sinister Six movie, by the way, is still in development. That just came out a couple days ago. That movie is not off the table, nor is a Venom solo film. Which I think is okay, because now under the direction of Marvel, I'm like, well, at least it's not going to get screwed up. Like, maybe I don't like villain team-up movies, but at least it's got hope.
No, but see, there's also all those Venom comics and stories where he teams up with heroes like the Punisher and a couple other people where he goes off and he's in San Francisco, and does a couple of things there where he's trying to free child slavery things. There's a whole big thing there. I don't want to get into it too much, but he has stories where he does team ups with other Marvel characters, not just Spider-Man, so they could do a lot of things there.
Speaking of one thing that they could do, Mike, there was just a storyline that's in Guardians of the Galaxy, Planet of the Symbiotes. Could you see Venom getting introduced in, let's say, Guardians of the Galaxy 3, Planet of the Symbiotes? Well, it wouldn't be that subtitle, but they could go there, and then all of a sudden, the symbiote made its way back to Earth from the Guardians of the Galaxy, or something like that.
Yes and no. Like, I don't know if the way they did. Now, remember, there was a Planet of the Symbiotes before this Planet of the recent 3 or 4 issue miniseries that was in the Guardian stuff that we talked about on previous episodes. Go back and watch and listen to those. But there's the one in, the mid-90s where they eventually came with Scarlet Spider. There's all these clones of Peter Parker. We also talked about this on previous episodes. But if they did it that way, where it just kind of showed up and then they explained it in a Guardians movie, just very briefly, if they added now they could add Flash. And we can get Agent Venom in one of these.
We could, man. I don't know if he'd ever make it onto Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but I would put a fair amount of cash on it that Agent Venom would eventually make an appearance in something. Whether it be if they had the rights to Sword or anything like that. I don't know how far that goes, but give me, Evil Venom, give me Eddie Brock, and give me Flash Thompson. Give me both. And do them right. Of course, Marvel's going to, but
well, if you get if you get the Eddie Brock, you have to build from Eddie Brock to Flash. So you have that symbiote kind of makes Eddie Brock even crazier than he already was, and then he leaves him and tries to find a better host. I mean, that was the whole point of the recent Planet of the Symbiotes thing, was they were saying they were looking for the perfect symbiotic relationship, and they found that with Flash because of his character and what have you.
Yes, and what an amazing story that was. If you haven't read that little mini-series yet, definitely go pick it up. A couple other characters here real quick. Of course, there's Black Cat, another kind of street-level girl. We saw her hinted at in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, Felicity Jones, who's, of course, Black Cat. We all know who it is. I think that's another area that you can explore is, okay, let's bring Black Cat into the Netflix series, and have her team up with some of these people. Just what we're saying is this is an amazing, amazing piece of news that just changes everything as far as Marvel's direction for the future. If everybody thought they were going to run dry on stories, well, just what? They just got a shot of spider steroids. They were bit by the spider, if you will, and the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe has been revitalized.
Yeah, there's, like I keep saying, I think this is the third or fourth time I said, infinite number of possibilities now that they could go and move a lot of Marvel stories forward, or if they have to, if they want, they can go in and tweak and reboot and retcon things in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which I don't foresee that happening, but they could always say, like, hey, well, while this was going on here with this character, this is like the, to use the comic term, the backup story. This is what was going on with these other three people. Or these other guys.
Like, hey, Spider-Man was witnessing the Battle of New York, and he hadn't been bit yet, and he's got like a poster of the Avengers on his wall, or something like that. Like, I could totally see them doing that, using what happened in New York as like his motivation. Once he does get bit by the spider, obviously great power comes great responsibility, yada, yada, yada. Can't wait for Stan Lee's cameo in that movie, by the way. But I look at that and I just say there are so many different things they could do with this, like just to explain away why he hasn't been seen up to this point, and just amazing.
Yeah, I'm just so glad that this deal happened. I mean, we speculated about it from when the Sony hack happened. What was it, 2 months ago now?
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit longer than that, and we'd just been hoping for it since we started the show, and then we kind of figured out that Civil War was going to be a movie. And now it actually is coming to kind of a reality. Now, I want to say it's like, I would say with a 95% certainty that Spider-Man would be in the Captain America Civil War movie.
Yeah, and that movie starts filming this year, because it's coming out in 15 months. So I'm guessing by Comic-Con this year, San Diego Comic-Con, we'll have our Spider-Man casting announced. I bet they're going to bring him out on stage as their big announcement, and the place is just going to go nuts. The internet will blow up again, and amazing things will happen. Just so much good stuff happening in the MCU. And so obviously, we've mentioned that Spider-Man coming to the MCU, its effects are going to be felt in the other films, of course. Whether it's Infinity War, where now you can have Spider-Man watching half of New York just die at the hands of Thanos from far away, or the effect that it's having in reality, where other movies' release dates are going to have to be changed now, because, of course, like we said, Thor Ragnarok was supposed to be on July 28th of 2017. That has now been moved to November 3rd of 2017. So another November release date for Thor. They already know it can be successful there. No qualms there. However, I feel bad for the movies like Black Panther that was supposed to be November 3rd of 2017. That's now been pushed back to July 6th of 2018. In the movie immediately following Infinity War Part 1.
Yeah, well, that could be a blessing and a curse for that movie, moving from, November, kind of a slow time, so, for some people to go to the movies. Some people are kind of saving up money to go holiday shopping around then, right?
Right, yeah, exactly.
To the middle of the summer, where all the high school kids are out of school, all the middle school kids, everybody's out of school. There's a lot of stuff. Kids can just go to the movies freely. They don't have to worry about bedtimes or whatever it is that kids are worried about these days, or their cell phone dying,
right,
or,
yeah.
Their Twitter, something, Snapchat, I don't know. But
whatever they'll be into by 2018.
Yeah, when their Google glasses are broken or whatever comes out by then. But I think it might actually benefit Black Panther to move back. What was that, about 6-7 months?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
That I think will benefit that movie also. Moving back to the summer, more people will be able to see it without having to worry about some other obligation, as well as it gives a little bit more time for people to read up on the character if they didn't know what the character was, which I think is a good thing.
Yeah, and of course we've already mentioned the character is going to be very heavily hinted at in Avengers: Age of Ultron with Ulysses Klaue looking to make his debut. I don't believe that's been confirmed yet, but it's pretty much confirmed that's Ulysses Klaue.
Yeah. Once again,
it'll be weird having that gap between. It'll be a 3-year gap between Klaue being introduced and Black Panther most likely fighting Klaue. But you're going to see these hints dropped, of course, in this year's films, and then in Civil War, Black Panther will be there. Then you just have to wait a little bit longer, and you'll have your Black Panther movie. Now, Captain Marvel is going to take the November 2nd, 2018 slot that was previously held by Inhumans, which is going to July 12th of 2019, which was a date that Marvel had not formally announced, but is definitely on the calendar. So they have now put the Inhumans all the way, 4 years from now, and they're already being introduced in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So, like you said, that just gives that even more time for those stories to get developed of Inhumans in the MCU and seeing their impact on the MCU. So, although it sucks because I really wanted to see some of these new properties sooner, I'm just excited that we're getting all of them, and it just shows that Spider-Man is king. Like, it just goes to show that the Spider-Man is still the boss. He's Marvel's biggest gun. Go check out any toy store. He's all over the place. He sells more toys than all of the Avengers characters combined, as well as Batman and Superman combined. Spider-Man sells more toys than all of them combined.
I work in a mall. I work at a shoe store. I work at Nike in an outlet mall. And there's, kids from all over the country, all over the world come into that store because we have kids' shoes and all that stuff. And I see the two biggest things I see on kids' shirts, not counting for little girls, little boys, because if it's a little girl, she has Frozen stuff on. We already know that.
Yes.
There's
Disney.
There's just another Disney money truck backing up to somebody's house. I see Batman, but more than Batman, which I see Spider-Man stuff. Whether it's sneakers, hats, T-shirts. When it's cold out, they all had the zip-up hoodies that they could put the hood over their face and be Spider-Man. Spider-Man is a worldwide thing. So the fact that it's coming back to Marvel and is going to get its love, they're going to get even more money from the toys. They're going to get even more money from the lunchboxes, the sneakers, the T-shirts, the hats, the bracelet, whatever they could put Spider-Man's face on, it will be on, and it already is on, but there will be more of it.
Oh, exactly. He's already all over the comic books. He's already over the video games that they have. He's all over Lego Marvel Superheroes. So he's going to be all over, Lego Marvel Avengers or whatever it's called. It's just
he's
insane.
Their guy. He is the Marvel's Michael Jordan or, their top draw. He's there to reference wrestling again. Spider-Man is Marvel's John Cena, where people come to see John Cena, and whether it's to come to hate him like they do in WWE, where a lot of people don't like John Cena, or they come to cheer him, which is more for Spider-Man. Everybody comes to see Spider-Man. Everybody loves Spider-Man, but he just has that gravitas, that magnetic thing around him, where he just draws people in. So. Oh
yeah, and of course, if you have a ticket to Comic-Con this year, lucky you, because you're probably going to get to see a Batman versus Superman trailer. You're going to get a ton of stuff. You're going to get Spider-Man being introduced. You're going to get Civil War trailer probably. Just, the jealousy is real in that. So I think we've said about everything we could possibly say about this. We are insanely excited.
Well, there's one thing that I wanted to get to.
All right.
I guess when they started with Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man, this was a big thing on Twitter, and it's starting to make a comeback. And that's hashtag Donald for Spider-Man. And they're talking about Donald Glover, a.k.a. Childish Gambino, a.k.a. I think he has whatever his character's name is on Community. I see a lot of people tweeting that out, like, that's back. They want Miles Morales to be Spider-Man and Donald Glover to play Miles Morales.
Yes, and you know what, Mike? If I'm not mistaken, Donald Glover is actually voicing on the Amazing Spider-Man television show, I believe he is the voice of Miles Morales in the animated series. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure he is. Don't quote me. I'm 99.9% sure he is.
I mean, that's cool. I don't know. I'm not against it. He's a cool dude, man. He's funny. He does pretty good rap songs, and he's a good actor. So.
Yeah, there's totally nothing wrong with that. And the big name that everybody keeps floating out there is Logan Lerman, who's of course, your kid from Percy Jackson. Tons of stuff going on with him. And, yes, I can confirm that Donald Glover is the voice of Miles Morales in the animated series. Just pure excitement. Can't wait. We'll have all the news for you. I nerd raged to the max over this. The internet broke. It happened late at night. It kept me awake. I didn't care because Spidey's home.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
That's all I would really say. Thanks for actually getting this done.
Thank you, Marvel, for doing what nobody thought was possible, convincing Sony to collaborate on. Mike, I guess that'd be like the last thing we could talk about. This is a landmark moment. A movie studio has agreed to share its prized character with another studio, and they're going to work together on something. Millions and millions of dollars are about to exchange hands, and they got this done. This could be the first of many crossovers. Like, I haven't heard anything, I don't know anything, I don't have any sources. Other studios may be willing to play ball with other studios if this actually works out. We'll see how much money both studios are actually making as a result of this. But just, what a landmark thing, just from a business perspective. Forget comic books. This is huge for business.
Yeah. Well, there it is. You said it, though, too. Is like, if this does well, that could start the domino effect of people sharing characters, things happening. Like I kept alluding to the X-Men coming back to Marvel. Maybe we can see the Fantastic Four and X-Men come back.
I would love to see the Fantastic Four villains. Fox can keep screwing over the Fantastic Four. Just give me back Doctor Doom, Galactus, Silver Surfer, Kang the Conqueror, the Annihilus. Give me back the Skrulls, and I'll be happy.
Yeah, well, with things like that, if this works out for Sony, it's obviously going to work out for Marvel regardless.
Yeah, Marvel was not in a position that they needed to make this deal. Sony was.
Yeah. If this works out well for Sony, look for stuff like this to happen down the line with other comic book or just, not even that, just other intellectual properties.
Yes.
Hopefully they all work out.
It's like, let's all get ready for our Hunger Games and Harry Potter crossover. Whatever. And I was just trying to think of two things owned by two different people.
Or like, somebody owns the rights to, never mind. Hopefully something works out.
Yes.
That we all want to happen.
Yes. Absolutely. Godzilla and, Pacific Rim is the one that a lot of people are talking about that are technically owned by two different people, that they want to see that crossover happen. Who knows? If this works out, that could be paving the way. We're going to explain how our podcast normally works. Obviously, we do our TVs, we do our comic book reviews, we do our news. It's going to be a little bit different this week since Spider-Man was the big news. We're cutting the comics from the podcast. Of course, we're also doing this in the middle of the week. Many of you may not see this until Friday, but we are recording this on Thursday. And so we're going to get to the TV shows. We're just not going to do the comics talk because we don't want to make the podcast too insanely long. And plus, Mike and I haven't had a chance to read everything that just came out yesterday.
Yeah. This week, that stuff that came out, Darth Vader launched this week. We had another Future's End book. Another issue of Guardians of the Galaxy Black Vortex crossover thing is in its second issue with the Guardians of the Galaxy for the other Marvel books. That I've read.
Spider-Verse just finished this week. Spider-Verse is officially done. They had its last issue.
Yeah, so that stuff came out. We didn't read it. I do want to make one correction, though. Last week I said that Batman Haunted Knight that I just bought was a continuation of the Long Halloween Dark Victory storyline when it was actually like the precursor, the predecessor, the inspiration. Yeah, the inspiration to write those two books instead of. It's a whole thing, but if you haven't read it, go read it. It's great. Check that out. I started reading Watchmen. Boom, there we go.
Yes. So, you know what, Mike? You brought up Batman. We'll just go right into it. Gotham this week, man. This was probably one of the better episodes that they've had in the second half of the season so far because stuff actually had some continuity and it actually had an overarching theme. We posted on the Facebook, on the Mad Nerds Facebook page. For the first time in several weeks, it seems like Gotham finally had a theme, and it was fathers and sons throughout the whole episode. Whether it was Bruce Wayne and his father, or the Scarecrow and his father. Jonathan Crane and his dad. I thought this was an excellent episode.
Yeah, this was definitely one of the better episodes of the season. Gerald Crane, the father of Jonathan, or the Scarecrow as we know him most, commonly, is at it again. He goes out, he kills an English teacher, somebody that he worked with. This is even crazier. Like, he worked with that guy. That's how they found out what the guy's name was. They found out who Gerald Crane was because they were looking at a yearbook of the English teacher who he murdered, and they saw the picture, and Bullock was like, "That's the guy." And
I liked that.
We got to see the first fear toxin actually happen. We see him mixing all the chemicals and injecting it into himself to initiate his fear of him. What we find out later in the episode is him not being able to help his wife when she was burning alive in the house that they were in, which was crazy. That was really weird and freaked out. I love the use of the special effects. It did look like they had it in the movie. When Scarecrow would spray people, it was kind of all jumpy and blurry, and the screen was shaking until the fear actually came out.
Yeah,
they spent a pretty penny on that.
Yeah, and let's talk about that, Mike. I'm not as familiar with Scarecrow's origin as you would be as far as Batman goes, but did Scarecrow have this thing? Because the doctor was saying, Jonathan may never come out of this. He's seeing the thing that he fears the most all the time. He could see it every waking hour. Is this part of Scarecrow's origin, or is this something that they've just changed now all of a sudden, or were they very unclear about that? Because obviously he sprays the fear toxin on people, but this how could he ever become the Scarecrow if he's paralyzed by fear in a hospital bed?
Well, the one that I know, the backstory that I know, is he's a teacher himself. That's the one that I know from the comic books. Is he's a teacher. He was a psychology professor at Gotham University or whatever it was. So him being paralyzed by fear in the show kind of is a little bit different than what I've noticed in the stuff that I've read. So here's one of the things, Crane has a fear of bats and is obsessed with fear and revenge as a result of being bullied throughout his childhood because he was tall and skinny and weird looking. But that's a whole different thing than what they just did. But here it is. Here's another thing. It says his obsession with the fear led him to become the psychiatrist, and he took his position at Arkham. And then that's when he started doing experiments on his patients with the fear toxin and stuff. Yeah. So we'll have to see what they do with this. I'm really curious. Obviously, they have to have some creative liberties to this, or nothing would ever work on the show. And what I see here, what they did is they took the comic book story of Jonathan Crane's thing and made it kind of his dad's story a little bit, and it mixed it into the kid. But now, like you said, how does he go on about his life? Now he's just a psychopath because he always sees the Scarecrow trying to kill him, so he dresses up like it. What does it do? Yeah, like I said, I wish that they didn't do that, because now it's you just gave his origin story to his dad, so what's it going to be like when Batman comes around? And that's just what we're always thinking, is how is this going to affect Batman? Speaking of Batman, we had the Bruce Wayne portion of this. We thought he was going to fall into the Batcave. Oh man, I was so disappointed. They teased it like he was going to fall into the Batcave. Turns out he just fell down a hill and sprained his ankle after being upset that his dad is dead. And Alfred is very tough on him. It's but I liked that. You know what? It was that, how are we both going to move on? Hey, I loved your dad too, and I know this was you and your dad's thing. What role am I going to play in your life? Man, the dynamic between those two continues to be money. I love it. Yeah, Alfred and Bruce is amazing. I like how he was making fun of him a little bit. Would you stop for a bite to eat and a pint on your way back up?
Yeah. How long have you been up here?
Bruce is like,
Since you started crawling up the hill.
You didn't think to help me? Like, what? I thought it was pretty funny.
And, like, honestly, this is the one part that I could buy that's maybe not in the comics and that you can play a little bit with. How did Bruce become Batman? How did Bruce Wayne come from this innocent kid to this ruthless, guy doing parkour and beating the tar out of criminals at nighttime? Well, he was hardened by his butler, who also happens to, agree with everything that Batman does and helps Batman. But there's just so much good stuff involved with this that if they had more of this on the show, I'd like that. Give me less Catwoman, give me less Poison Ivy.
100% less Fish Mooney.
Yes, we'll talk about that as soon as we finish this. This whole dynamic of, and then he's like, Alfred is there. He's trying to show Bruce, hey, I know your dad is gone. It sucks for both of us, but I want to be in that role as much as I can.
Yeah, he's trying. Alfred's definitely being the father figure that you see him in the comic book Batman stories, where you see him kind of worrying for Bruce when he's out, or taking care of him, kind of like we saw here, where he's injured a little bit and he's giving him the tea and kind of a shoulder to cry on a little bit. That's the Alfred that everybody knows from the comic books. He's there to fix Bruce when he's broken, and then complain about it when he leaves to go out and do Batman things.
Yep, and he's going to let him grow. He's going to let him crawl up the hill. You know why? Because he'll probably be better off as a result of it. And he was, talking about the different things that have happened overseas, whatever. Yeah, and I like that, and you get just a really good dynamic between them. And Mike, you brought up Fish. Here's where I'm at. She's not from the comics. She's the one character that you can kill off, that you have free liberties to kill. That's a main character right now. So I think we're all just waiting for that moment. But I'm going to give the show credit for one thing. I know that we don't particularly like the character. I particularly am sick of her. But they are building her up as somebody who can work her way up a ladder. And I like that because it didn't undermine her being in this hellhole, I believe is what they called it. She found a way to get to the top of that too. So it's like, this is just in her nature. She's either going to get to the top or she's going to die fighting. So I'm liking what she's building up her own little army here. She's going to find a way to break out of this, and then she's going to come after Falcone and specifically Oswald's Cobblepot,
Yeah, I really hope she doesn't bring like a group of prisoners to fight against the mafia. It makes no sense. I was hoping that guy, what's his name, Mace or whatever, would just have stabbed her, and then we were done with it. But whatever. She's there. She stabbed that guy in the neck, and she's like, yeah. The craziest thing about the whole Fish Mooney prison stuff was when the chick came back without eyeballs.
Yeah, I'm like, what's this supposed to, like, they obviously made a point of that. This has to be some kind of foreshadowing. Like, what's this about? Like I was asking questions.
But that was the best part of that whole thing. But then what we really got to see was Carmine and the Penguin going over how he's changing it from Fish's nightclub to
Oswald's.
What is now called Oswald's, which we talked about last week as being the Iceberg Lounge. We do see a little bit of it. It was definitely not the opening that our boy the Penguin was hoping for. But.
Right. I think, and honestly, I will give the show credit for one thing. They've pushed a lot of things really hard on this show. To not go with the Iceberg Lounge right away shows me some restraint, because it's like, hey, you know what? He's got to build up to that. Like, he's not ready for the Iceberg Lounge yet. We don't want the Iceberg Lounge to suck. Like, Oswald's is going to suck.
They took the fish down and they put the little neon umbrella up. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. I enjoyed all that with, like, the negotiations of now Falcone and Maroni are working together because they have that judge just being, like, abused. And that was just so dark, like, with the judge, or I believe it was the judge. And,
yeah.
Showing that they could get along. And then, okay, now Maroni and the Penguin storyline has already been patched up. They're not going to drag it on. It's like, you know what? For as long as Falcone's alive, you're cool. But you better hope he lives a long life, because I'm going to kill you when he's not here,
I loved the judge thing.
It was insanely dark, but so good.
It was so completely mafia that it fit perfectly for what they've been pointing at, and obviously what the show is about is the corruption within Gotham. that was it right there. This guy, this judge who may or may not have a fetish for young men, but he keeps it, wrapped up, and he's, a hard, they say he's a hard-ass judge. He's the guy that, locks up all the mafia guys. He doesn't take any guff, and he just locks them up.
Yep, well, and I have to like that just shows that Falcone knows what he's doing. It's like, everybody on the show said he's weak. Well, guess what? The dude knows so much that he found the one thing to get to the judge. Now the judge is in his pocket, and he's in Maroni's pocket as a result.
Yeah, he traded him. It's like the NBA trade deadline's coming up, so he's like, yeah, I'll trade you this judge and some cash if you let me keep the Penguin so he can make money for me at this nightclub.
Yeah, and don't ask about the property that you gave me for Arkham.
Yeah.
So there was that, and let's kind of follow into the GCPD now, where we saw Penguin go and invite Bruce to his opening. Or
James,
not Bruce.
Jim
Gordon, who's playing the role of Bruce Wayne in this. You saw him come in there, and we saw our first little encounter between Edward Nygma and Oswald Cobblepot. It was almost a battle of who could be more awkward. I'm upstaging, you're awkward, and I'm upstaging, you're awkward. And you could tell they kind of didn't get along. And it was almost, oh man, that scene, although it didn't really serve any great purpose, it just was good. It's two awkward characters on screen trying to out awkward each other. It was fantastic.
Staring at each other all weird.
Yeah, what are you doing here? I work here. Is that a riddle? Just it wasn't too punny. It was just good. It was really good.
Do you like riddles? Not particularly.
So good. And, there's that ton of stuff going on. Of course, now Leslie Tompkins, or Lee, is working at the GCPD, and you got that whole love angle, which, I'm not too high on it, but hopefully they're going to do something with it that'll actually pay off. Hopefully that'll be a good payoff and not something crappy.
I love that Bullock keeps dropping hints you keep doing this, they're going to, somebody's going to find out, and it's going to end bad for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, Bullock would know. It's true. Bullock, out of all the people, would know.
Well, and he even said, I would know best. They didn't go into it, but...
Yeah, I'm guessing that we're going to see Major Crimes make a comeback here with, Renee Montoya and her partner. They have to make a comeback here at some point,
I want Montoya and Barbara Keene and anything else.
Yeah, the other
stay away.
The other Major Crimes guy's name is escaping me, but
this love story is doing too much already too. I get it. It has to be there. It's part of storytelling. There has to be some sort of interest.
It's what happened to Arkham though? We just lost all of our connections to Arkham. What?
Arkham's gone. But it's there.
Oh my gosh! But you know what, Mike? We got to talk about the preview for next week's episode. They put him in the trailer. We know he's coming. We heard the laugh. Here comes the Joker.
Yeah, so the next episode's entitled The Blind Fortune Teller, which I think also happens to connect to the person who got their eyes gouged out of their head, hopefully.
Yeah, that better be it, because otherwise nothing else makes any sense.
But there's very little to speculate. They just have him, it looks like he's in an interrogation, and he just starts laughing at one of the questions. So...
I'll be honest, the kid who is playing him, and the laugh was right on the money. I mean, I wish that they wouldn't introduce the Joker this early in this show, but you know what? They might have nailed the casting.
Yeah, there's what, five or six episodes left.
They're going up to 22.
Yeah, so next week will be 16. So yeah, they're looking at about 7.
7 more.
They could do all right. I mean, obviously, he's not going to go from whatever it is that they're going to show in episode 16 to all of a sudden being the Joker the next episode. I think that's going to be the slow build to the end of the season. And then, maybe the Joker kills Fish Mooney and everybody's happy.
Yeah, or the Joker ends up in Arkham, and obviously Red Hood is coming in the episode after this one, so.
Yeah, 17, the Red Hood is the title, so that, I think, where we would get to see more about the Joker if they do it the way that I talked about them doing it last week.
Yes. So we're looking forward to that coming up on Monday. Mike, what's your score for this episode?
This is an 8.5 out of 10 for me. 8.5 out of 10. I always like to leave that wiggle room for them to get better. The Fish Mooney stuff kind of took a half a point away from it. Or, not a half point. I'll give her Fish Mooney minus 0.25, Leslie, aka Lee Tompkins, and Jim Gordon awkward kissing things, and Jim Gordon just being a weirdo, another minus 0.25 to get them from a 9 down to an 8.5. So it's an 8.5 out of 10.
Yeah. All right, and I'm going to go with about a 7.5, almost an 8. I'm just glad to see some consistency. There was actually a through line in the episode. I didn't feel like it was tonally all over the place. The storylines wrapped up pretty quickly that they had going on. So overall, it was a pretty solid episode for me.
Yeah, I loved it. Speaking of solid things, solid episodes, we haven't had a bad one yet over in ABC and Marvel's look at Peggy Carter. So what is this, episode 6, right?
This is episode 6 of the 7-part miniseries, if you will. So this was part 5 out of 7, episode 6. This one had so much going on that just got me going. The Russians are there, you know. The interior bickering between the agents is there. Peggy Carter's been arrested. You know, so much going on. But Mike, I want to talk about Dottie. Man, Dottie Underwood just absolutely nailed it for me in this episode. I thought she was gonna, it's like, oh, why'd she kill a dentist? Oh, she needed the office space. Oh, is she gonna snipe that guy because they got him? Oh no, they're communicating. Like, it just had me going, and then it's like, she stole Peggy Carter's lipstick, and she used it to put Peggy Carter out. And it's like, oh my gosh, like, Dottie Underwood far exceeds my expectations.
Yeah, I like when she kissed Peggy, and Peggy was like, that's my brand, and then boom, she was out.
You're wearing my brand, and just, and like, see, there's two differences when women kiss on television. There's the ones that are simply just trying to say, oh look, women kissing, hey, teenage men. And then there's, oh, they kissed, but there's actually a point behind it that's pretty evil. So it's not like you're watching something and going, oh, woohoo. It's like, oh my God.
When Dottie kissed Peggy, it reminded me of the scene in The Godfather where Michael kisses Fredo. He kissed his brother on the lips, and he was like letting him know, like, I know what you do. I know what you did. Obviously in The Godfather, he did that because he knew his brother the family and he was going to kill his brother, but here she knew that Peggy works behind the scenes for the SSR, so she kissed her and was trying to kill her. It kind of paralleled to me, but it made sense. Like, it's what was, like, why else would she have taken the lipstick? Something was going to happen with that.
Yes, and we got another good little bit of, Jarvis and Peggy investigating stuff together. They're always just money.
Jarvis just taking all of the punishment from all the women that Howard Stein slept.
Yes. And then he ends up giving money to a future mafioso, the leader of a future leader of the mafia. I'm like,
the little fat boy with the that was awesome.
That just pure gold out of this show, man. You get this wonderful scene with Angie, covering up for Peggy Carter. You get Sousa, who we know kind of has a little bit of the feels for Peggy, having to try to stop her, and just, once again, this show just continues to do a great job of painting women in a powerful position and not from a damsel in distress. And not even that men are incompetent, but just, listen, these are competent men being beat up by competent women. Like Peggy wiping out the whole entire restaurant and then, taking down Thompson, and then, Sousa not shooting her. Well, he probably should have, but, just in general, she's competent, and I love the way that they're portraying it, and the action's always good, the way that they do the camera angles, the speed-ups, the slowdowns, everything's just money with this show.
ABC does a really good job of, on all of their shows, going back to when I was a kid watching TGIF.
Oh, yes.
They just did a good job of moving, the camera, moving, just all the stuff that you mentioned, the spacing, the shot selection, all that stuff. The lighting, things to set the tone and the mood for each scene are always great from ABC Studios, and of course now they're owned by Disney. And there it is. You hear that noise? A beep, 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 beep. That's another money truck just backing up to Disney.
Yep, more money. Because Agent Carter's ratings have continued to rise on the live ratings, so that's always a good thing. And let's talk about this therapist, man. We knew there was going to be more to him than just therapy. It was a plant. It was his job. As soon as he got in, he's a hypnotist, and just Man, we knew something was coming, but I didn't even see this coming. Like, and he gets that SSR agent killed. Like, he tells him to go have a bit of your favorite drink, walk out in the street, and get killed.
That was not like he's twisting the ring. He's telling him all he needs to do. He's like, go have a nice bourbon, enjoy that bourbon, savor that bourbon, and then what you need to do is, and he stops talking, and you just see that guy walk out of the street, and I was like, what just happened?
Yeah, oh my gosh.
He like fixed his tie too, and like straightened his jacket, and they just walked out in front of the truck.
Oh my gosh. Oh, just so much good stuff. Good thing that the Chief didn't give into that. I would have been a little mad if Chief Dooley had been the one.
Sousa saved him from that. It's Dr. Ivchenko, is the hypnotist named the Leviathan. The Leviathan agent, I guess we could call him at this point now. He started to do his work on Chief Dooley. You know, he's like, oh, I noticed that, you have a blanket and pillow and, the toothbrush and a razor and the picture of what can I assume to be your wife is face down while the picture of your kids is up because you're very proud. And then he starts going into the psychiatrist thing that he was pretending to be. And then he started doing the focus. That was great.
Yeah, just the way that they discovered Dottie, or not Dottie, but hey, Russia's using women and, Peggy Carter. Like, I like this. The one scene that I really liked early on in this episode that I don't want to get overshadowed was that when they were interrogating the doctor, Peggy could tell that something was up. Like, he knew more than he was letting on. Obviously, the Chief and, Agent Thompson and everybody who was in there didn't want to push too hard. But she said, I have a hunch on something. And the Chief's like, you know what? You've earned it. Go and see if your hunch is correct. And I like that. And
it was.
Yeah, of course it was. And I love that. And, she looks at, Dottie's wrists. Obviously, she's going to know who Dottie is. And just Dottie's objective now is to kill Peggy Carter. The therapist guy, his job, once again, I can't remember his name. Mike, you were right on top of that.
Ivchenko. Dr. Ivchenko.
Dr. Ivchenko. His job is obviously to recover the weapons. To get the rest of them, whatever ones they don't have, so then they don't have to build them. It's just coming to a head, man. There's 2 more episodes left before the return of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and it's going to be awesome.
Oh, man. I loved the woman that ran the Griffith. She was just so upset that there were men in the building.
Yeah, it's a security issue. Even do you know who we are?
Even if they're secret, government agents, she's like, they can't be upstairs. Oh, no. It's going to be the end of the world. A man is going upstairs to a woman's room. But, it was... And then when the bricks were taken out of the wall where she put Steve's blood, she was like, oh!
I knew she was bad.
Faced my walls.
This show, we had such high expectations coming into it based on the writers, the directors, the showrunners. Of course, because it's Marvel and we love Peggy Carter and the aftermath of Captain America. But this has just so exceeded our expectations. This episode, for me, it gets a solid 9. Actually, because I don't want to give it a 10. I feel like this can max out somewhere better. Yeah. I'm going to give it a 9.
I definitely agree with that. A 9 is definitely what it gets. You can't give it a perfect score because you want to always leave that room for improvement. Not that there was much to improve on, but, we do have 2 episodes left. How is Peggy going to get out of all this? That's what I want to see. It's a 9. If this would have been the last episode and they would have extended it an hour and Peggy would have wrapped up all her loose ends, 10. But the cliffhanger gives it a 9 because we have to know what's going to happen down in the interrogation room with Peggy and Sousa and Thompson and Chief Dooley.
Yes, so much good stuff. And we'll be sure to keep tracking this show as well. It's pretty stinking awesome. I could not be more excited for what they're doing here. And speaking of excited, Mike, it's another month. Another Loot Crate is on its way for you. Just give the people as we close just another quick blurb about Loot Crate before we sign off.
Yeah, so we got another Loot Crate, another month, another Loot Crate. February's coming. What they've done is they've also added a new membership this year to give away as a gift. They're promoting it for Valentine's Day, obviously, which is coming up here in the next few days. You can get a year-long subscription, and it comes with a special gift, either a Boba Fett keychain of the Slave One or a Star Destroyer keychain for all of our Galactic Empire fans. But Loot Crate's theme this month is Press Play. I think I said last week.
Okay.
It's a board game theme, gaming theme in general, but mostly board games. Our Loot Crate exclusive is going to be a childhood favorite tabletop game, I believe. Let me pull up the exact wording for that. Where are you, Loot Crate?
Yes, and so as Mike's finding that, just be sure if you are interested in Loot Crate, after everything you've heard about it, feel free to do your own research as well. But we want to make sure that you know that there's going to be a link in the description of this video on YouTube. If you're finding this on YouTube, if you're finding it through another source, check us out on YouTube at youtube.com/madnerdsanv, all one word, and you'll see the link to under the description of this video, episode 17, coming home. You'll find the Loot Crate link to help Mike out and help yourself subscribe to Loot Crate.
There's a new referral program, so they're trying to see how many people will sign up through your link. They have prizes now, so you can either get Xbox One or PS4 if your first prize. Second prize is a 2-foot tall Chewbacca stuffed animal, and third place is a $50 Amazon gift card. Also, they're offering an incentive for me. It doesn't really help you guys much unless you guys get it signed up before the 19th and can blast it out to all your friends. They're offering an additional $2 for everybody that you get to subscribe. So instead of $5, you get $7 off. Amazing. So sign up by the 19th of this month, and you can get the Press Play theme Loot Crate. Loot Crate exclusive popular tabletop game, plus a vinyl collectible figure from Kid Robot. Kid Robot does some awesome things. Let's just go take a look at. I'm going to take a look at their website. They do stuff for The Simpsons. They do Money World, which I actually have a Marvel Money World thing sitting over here, which allows you to customize a little character. I have Scarlet Spider, so I can put a bunch of little different things on him. They do Ninja Turtles. They have a lot of their stuff right now that's out is the 25th anniversary of The Simpsons keychain and stuff. So if you're at your local comic book store, go check that out. And then, of course, you get a great exclusive from Loot Crate this month from them.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you, Mike, for the Loot Crate update. Once again, be sure to check the description of this video for all the Loot Crate stuff. And also, feel free to check out our channel. If you just found us while you were looking for the Spider-Man news and you've listened this far, we appreciate you. Be sure to like and hit like button on this video. Subscribe to our channel. We're doing a lot of different stuff coming up now as the MCU is pushing full force now going forward. We're going to do some MCU specials. We, of course, are still doing our Let's Plays. We're archiving our Twitch streams on our channel as well. We just did the Vault of Glass on hard mode this weekend. It's now up on the channel. The final part of that should be up in the next couple of days if it's not already by the time you're listening to this. So a lot of good stuff going on the Mad Nerds YouTube channel. A lot of stuff we're looking forward to, Mike. We're going to be doing Crota's End hard mode on Saturday night live stream. Looking forward to that.
Oh, yeah.
Got our buddies, the Peace Walkers clan, joining in with us. We're really pumped about that. And we got our buddy Warrior, Aaron, joining in with us. So we've assembled our all-star team. Not that our friends are any less all-stars, but, this is different because it's a collaboration of several different backgrounds, several different places coming together to take down the mightiest of Destiny.
Yeah, hopefully we can get through Crota's End on hard for the second time. We did the first time, it was kind of like, could have been better. Now that we have a little bit more of experience with it, we can get through it quicker, more efficiently, and offer some people some help, because I know they were asking during all the Vault of Glass stuff that we went through. And, of course, then we could always get to level 32.
Yes, we need to get to level 32, and of course, the big news for Destiny as we're getting ready to sign off is Iron Banner's back next week, so we might do some Iron Banner live streams as well.
Yeah, if you want to see some frustration and F-words and stuff, get ready.
As well as some exclusive loot and armor drops that you can only get through the Iron Banner, of course. That's what we'll really be showing you all, but it can be frustrating in the Iron Banner. But without, with level classes and level benefits enabled now, who knows? Anything could happen. Maybe we'll be good at this. I don't know. I got my Mythic class fully leveled up, and I'm ready to party.
That'll be awesome aggravation. I may threaten people's lives.
Yes. But Mike is, of course, y'all know, Mike is a very kind-hearted gentleman deep down when he's not playing video games.
Only on the weekends.
Only on the weekends. That's why we do our streams on Saturday nights. So we thank you all for joining us if you made it this far. For those of you who are new, We love you and appreciate you just as much as all the faithful people, but the faithful people, we want to give a special thanks to you for sticking with us all these weeks. We hope you enjoyed this earlier midweek show that we're giving you. This has been episode 17 of the Mad Nerds Podcast, Coming Home. I'm Superhero Deuce, here with Mike is the Hat. Hello to the NSA guy. God bless you all. We are out.